Hey there, good afternoon. My name's Dana Jamara. Welcome to Astrocast. As promised, I have set aside some time to complete this new moon recording for the new moon in Virgo. And there's only one really big aspect, but it's a really powerful and important one to this new moon, and that is with Uranus. So I want to pull up the screen so I can show it to you because it'll make so much more sense. And then we'll just go off on a little bit of a tangent from there. So let's go ahead and actually let me do this real quick. And there we go. All right. So I can see so much better when I put my glasses on. So here's the new moon, September 6, 5:51 or 5:52 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you kind of look around this whole screen and you'll see all the zodiac signs on the outside, the planets are on the inside. And the reason we know it's a new moon is because the moon and the sun are sitting there right next to each other at 14 degrees in Virgo. That's up in the top right corner when you're looking at the screen. So we've got the sun, moon, Virgo, 14 degrees, and across from it is Neptune. It is a 7-degree orb, so it's not that big of a deal. But it does affect it in certain ways, and I talk about that in the September astrology forecast. But the biggest thing I want you to see, and I guess I'll just draw the line for you first. So if you look here, it's making an exact trine to the planet Uranus. And so, first of all, new moons are times for new beginnings. A new moon happens when the moon and the sun are at the same degree. If you look up in the sky, you can't see the new moon. You can't see the moon, and it's a dark time. So not dark in a bad way, but a way for us to go inward. And so this energy is really asking us to go inward with this new moon. It's at 14 degrees, and this is really a time of rapid change. I don't know if you've noticed anything on the planet that's happening right now, but we have over the last year and a bit been experiencing a lot of movement to newness, new ways of doing things, new ways of functioning, new ways of communicating with each other, new ways of not communicating with each other, new ways of just really functioning in this on this planet. And I read something the other day that said, and it was about parenting because I have two kids who they kind of are old enough to parent themselves now. They're 16 and 18, and I say that with deep respect for the little adults that they've become. Um, but we can't, I've always thought about questioning, am I doing this right? Am I raising my kids the right way? Am I, what is still working and what isn't working? And we can't raise our kids the same way we were raised because the planet and the way that we did things before no longer work. And I would bet money that at least every 2 generations have said something like that because things are always in flux. And that really is um, the biggest point that I want to make with this whole recording is that everything is always changing. Uranus is the planet of change. And even in yoga, we talk about, impermanence being something that is a non-negotiable. Like you can plan for things all you want, but life is going to happen the way life is going to happen, and things will change. And as humans, we get things set in our mind to be a certain way, and we read all the books, and we do all the 7 steps, and we, um, you know, follow a trajectory of something outside of ourselves to support us on our path. When really, if we just can remember that change is always happening around us and how we move with that change or resist that change is really the key to our joy and happiness or the key to our struggle and suffering. So, this new moon auspiciously lines up with Uranus and it reminds us that change is imminent, change is happening all the time. And so we can look at it in a way where it's scary and we're like, oh my God, now what's going to happen? Or we can look at it in a way and go, oh my God, now what's going to happen? We can change the flexion of our voice, the sound of our voice, the way we feel and resonate with change in our body, and we can attune it to a sense of possibility as opposed to a sense of fear. And that really is this new moon. Um, I talked about this. If you haven't listened to the September forecast, I would. It's a big month about dialing up your intuition and dialing out the distractions of your life. And there's a lot of things happening on the planet right now. A lot of things are shifting that are A, out of your control, and B, out of your control. So the one thing you can manage or discipline is your reaction. So really amplify your intuition, do all the things that are necessary for you to amplify your intuition. And this will not just increase your awareness, but it'll increase your sense of self-confidence because you'll feel more in the flow. I want to show you the chart one more time here. I'll probably show it more than one time. So there are, I'm going to leave it on this one. There are 5 planets in Earth signs right now, and that's a really good thing because that means that we've got a great sense and opportunity of grounding. So we have Mars, Sun, Moon, Uranus, and then we have Pluto over here. Okay. Now we also have 4 planets, 1, 2, 3 if you count Chiron, 4, 5 planets in air. Okay, so we've got 5 planets in Earth and 5 planets in air. Okay, not a lot happening in water, not a lot happening in fire. So this is a time to really find that sense of grounding amidst the winds of change. And at the same time, not allowing yourself to get so dug in to the way you want it to be that you're not allowing yourself to see the bigger picture, or you're not allowing change to happen, right? So there's this always 2 sides. So you want to ground so you don't get swept away, but you don't want to get so grounded in that you're like, I don't see anything that's happening. It's only what I have happening, right? And so only you know what works best for you. If you feel like you're getting swept away with everything that's going on in the world, take a time out, use some crystals, ground in. If you feel stuck or you're like too in those lower dense vibes, then get out and do something. Be out in nature, be in the ocean, go for a walk, do something that will allow you to see the bigger picture and really how small you are in relation to the planet and everything happening. We have all this power in the pinky finger, and yet sometimes I think we forget how powerful we really are. Uranus is in Taurus. Uranus and Taurus is about change. Uranus in and of itself is about change. It's about shifting. It's about freedom. It's about liberation. Um, could have to do with your value system, could have to do with the way you do things on a day-to-day basis, what makes you feel comfortable. So Taurus is about comfort. Taurus is about how you use your finances. It's about home and hearth and healing. So there's shifts that will happen in this space. Virgo is about healing. It's about setting things right on a trajectory. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This energy with this new moon is about being meticulous and forthright and cautious about your healing process. I don't know if I want to get into numerology too much, but I did write this down and I do think it's important. Because of this reason, I'm going to share my screen with you just so I can show it to you. So you'll see that the moon and the sun and Uranus are all at the number 14, right? 14 degrees. Well, September in numerology is a 14 universal month. And 14 is really about changes. It's about technology. It's about amplifying this idea of change. So this really is about changing the way we do things, the way we see things, and allowing ourselves to feel that as opposed to fighting it. So just, I think overall, just notice where you're fighting with change, where you're, what one of my teachers says, where you're pushing the river, very uncomfortable pushing the river. So again, I talked a little bit about this exact trine to Uranus, right? And so when we have anything to do with Uranus, and Uranus is a big player of the year because it's squaring Saturn the whole year. Uranus is about change. Uranus is about freedom. Uranus is about um, our intrinsic quest for freedom as humans. And my invitation to you is to ask yourself, we're seeing a lot in the world right now, just so much. In fact, it feels heavy sometimes when I think about it, so I try not to think too hard about it. Um, we're seeing a lot of injustices in the world right now with regards to freedom. And what I would ask you to do is, that's a real easy target. We can all notice those things, right? So dial it back, dial it back, dial it back, dial it back, dial it back. Ask yourself, where am I not allowing myself to experience freedom? Where am I not giving someone else the freedom to live their life the way that they see fit? Where am I judging someone else? Where am I judging myself so much that I am not free? And those are really the deeper questions that you want to explore. They really are. And, this triple 14 code, the 14 of the new moon, actually it's quadruple. The new moon, the moon, the sun, Uranus, and September. This is really pushing through change. So like anywhere where you're not seeing it, the universe is going to go, hey, hey, over here, over here. Oh, you're still not paying attention. Whoosh, it's going to like just toss you right into the flow of change. So be accepting of change. And something that I like to do every now and again when I'm not caught up in the day to day is I start to question like why I do things a certain way. And then I start to question not only why I'm doing things a certain way, but is this a pattern? And is this pattern working for me? Because once you start to observe yourself, you kind of see where you are falling into um, these old traps of, oh, I did that when I was 20. Oh, I did that when I was 30. Oh, I did that when I was, whatever. And so ask yourself questions, start self inquiry, inquiring about um, the circumstances in your life, the people in your life, and asking yourself, is this in support of my highest good? Um, and then the other thing, and I find this to be really, really interesting, is, and I mentioned this before, change is imminent. Like impermanence is the one thing we can guarantee. And yet, what happens as humans when we come across change? We get fearful, we get worried, what's going to happen? What if I lose my job? What if I fall out of this relationship? What if we get worrisome? And what the really interesting thing to me is that we're worried about something that hasn't even happened yet. And so those ruminating thoughts in our mind, right, that we're all worried about, those are made up thoughts based on some story that is going on up in here, when you can rewrite that story to be something that you truly desire. But what happens with most people, almost everyone, is we have some trauma up here, right? And in here. And so we rewrite these same stories and we don't even pay any attention to them. And then we just wonder why life is the way it is. So this new moon is about noticing those things that you're ruminating about, that you're ruminating over, that you're concerned about, that have zero to do with what could be real. Nothing to do with astrology, and actually everything to do with astrology. I'm going to show you why. Oh, goodness. Because on this chart, we have got, where's Neptune? There it is. Neptune is within 7 degrees opposite the new moon, but it's also within 5 degrees opposite of Mars. So you have this play on your intuitive intellect or your intellectual intuition. Either way, same way you slice it, right? So asking yourself these bigger questions with the higher mind as opposed to asking them with the lower mind. Here's an example. You have this question of yourself, right? With the lower mind, well, what if I lose my job? And then that, and because that's, everybody has thought that at one point or another in their life, whether or not they do it now, it's okay. But what if I lose my job, right? So you spiral on that thought, and then that thought from the lower mind will go to fear, and it'll think of all the things that could happen, right? Well, if you put it into Uranus's hands, into the cosmos, and you go upward, an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral, now all of a sudden you're like, wow, I wonder what would happen if I didn't have that job anymore. I wonder what the potentiality of that invitation or that loss could bring to me. And the way you elevate that spiral is by breathing and by pausing and by being present in the moment, right? So in yoga, we talk about um, being able to create your life from a present standpoint. Well, most of us claim to be present, and we are for the most part when we work at it. But a lot of times, what we're doing is we're moving through life with past ideas and lower functionality of, say, Mercury. Mercury's the lower mind. But if you just allow yourself that space to go up with the thoughts and say, what if this happened? Wow, what could that open up for me? That's this new moon. It's this new moon of potential. It's this new moon of moving up into positive thoughts. And that's not, I really try hard to make sure that I never give you the opportunity to spiritually bypass your learning or your healing, right? So never will I tell you to choose a positive thought over a negative. I will ask you to investigate where that negative thought is coming from and if it's yours, if it's old, if it's necessary. And then moving into reframing, right, which is really about Uranus with this new moon, reframing our ideas so that we can move up into accepting change because the world is changing rapidly, rapidly. Everything that we have talked about as scientists, as astrologists, as yoga teachers, as humans having conversations, everything is changing. And so here's a question for you. And my teacher asked this of me, so I'm going to share it with you. She said, how would you feel differently? How would you feel differently if not knowing what was next was okay with you? Let me say that again. How would you feel? How would you function if not knowing what was next was actually okay with you? And I love that because I remember in my 20s saying to myself every year on my birthday, I would say, wow, look at all that I've done and all I've experienced in the last year that I never would have expected. And then looking ahead and going, I wonder what is coming up in this next year. This is going to be amazing, right? But as we get older and we take on different responsibilities in our life, we think that we have this, like, this is the way life should be. No. So go back to that idea of letting go and surrendering the past and letting it all go and saying, what if I could just break this pattern of the loyalty that I have to these old thought patterns that don't even serve me anymore, or these old ways of doing things that don't serve me? What if I could use this new moon trining Uranus as an opportunity to actually move into an upgraded version of myself? Not that anything's wrong with the first version, but let's just say, right? So I guess with this new moon, what I'm saying is allow yourself to be carried into something new. Don't push the river, because if you push the river with this new moon, you're going to get really tired really fast. And things are changing whether you like it or not. And if you can find those little nuggets amidst the change that's happening and ask yourself, hmm, why am I why am I holding on to that? That's weird. I don't even like that. That doesn't even help me. What am I doing? Like, really start to ask yourself from a place of, how would I feel if I could just let this go and be okay with not knowing what's coming next? You could relax, you could sleep, you could not think that you could control what's going on in all the places in the world where we're experiencing physical unrest. I'm not saying don't care. I'm not saying like don't do something about it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be mindful of how much weight you give the past and the things that you can't control. And maybe with this new moon, be open to, I don't know. I I don't know. And then like smiling after it. I'm going to say one more thing. I'm a big believer in co-manifesting your life or co-creating your life, like writing down your intentions and, every month being like, I desire this and I manifest that, and really trying to stay in alignment physically, mentally, emotionally in order to experience these um, offerings of co-manifesting, aligning with God and spirit and saying things like, okay, God, this is like what I desire, but it's up to you. So I'm down with whatever you got. And something I wrote was either the full moon or the new moon. And at the end, I was writing and I just sat there and I was like, I'm just open. I'm just open. Maybe just let that be your mantra. I'm just open. I'm open to see what's next. I'm either uncomfortable or I'm comfortable or whatever, but I'm just open. I'm open to the change, right? Whew, it's a good one. So I want to say thank you so much. Please know that some of this may resonate with you and some of it may not, and that's okay. I intuit a lot of the stuff. I look at the different orbs and the aspects, and then I kind of see what comes up. But a lot of it has to do with your personal chart, your birth chart. So if that interests you and you would like me to read your chart for you, I would be more than happy to. I do them for people all over the world, and I record them for you so you can listen to them later. But sometimes it helps to just have like this blueprint of, oh, that's why I'm going through my Saturn return, duh, right? So if that interests you, reach out to me. You can find me at danadamara.com. You can find everything on my website. If you live in Encinitas or the surrounding vicinity, I will be hosting a new moon circle with the sound bath this Friday before the new moon at Alila Resort and Spa up in La Costa. So that's all on my website, all on social media. Would love to have you. And if not, please stay in the heart. I'm just open. Stay in the heart. I want to say thank you so much for being here and listening. Have a beautiful